Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today we're exploring the absolutely fascinating, deeply intertwined, and honestly, often misunderstood origins of baseball and cricket. We're talking about two of the world's most popular sports, right? Both of them are fundamentally rooted in this really simple shared tradition of just a bat and a ball, yet they have evolved into these entirely distinct cultural phenomenons. So we're going to unpack exactly how these games grew apart. We'll look at everything from the highly manufactured legends of their creation to the intensely specific rulebooks that dictate how they're played today, and finally the massive cultural legacies they've left all across the globe.
We have to begin with a mystery, one that has captivated fans for well over a century. Did General Abner Doubleday actually invent baseball in a dirt field in Cooperstown, New York back in 1839? For a really long time, this was just accepted as the definitive history of the sport in the U.S. I mean, it paints this perfect picture of American ingenuity, doesn't it? A future Civil War hero just single-handedly sketching out the diamond and establishing the rules of the national pastime? It's a great story. But as you'll see when we look a bit closer at the historical record, the foundation of this legend completely crumbles.
You see, that famous Doubleday story was actually born out of a fierce pushback against prominent sports writers like Henry Chadwick. Chadwick was insisting that the game evolved directly from the British game of rounders. And as a British native himself, Chadwick pointed out some pretty undeniable similarities. Both games feature 9-player teams, fields with 4 bases, and clubs taking turns batting for a set number of innings. Chadwick wrote that there was, quote, no doubt whatever about this lineage. But man, this claim struck a major nerve in the United States. By the late 19th century, baseball was absolutely booming, and the powerful figures running the sport desperately wanted a purely American origin story, completely free from any British influence.
So, here is our roadmap for today. 1. Shared roots and myths. 2. Forging official rules. 3. Gameplay mechanics. And 4. Cultural legacies.
Let's jump right into Section 1, Shared Roots and Manufactured Myths. So driven by figures like Albert Spalding, who actually famously called the Rounders theory absolute pap, and Abraham Mills, a special commission was formed in 1905 to definitively prove baseball's American roots. Basically, they needed a hero, and they found one thanks to a highly questionable letter from a mining engineer named Abner Graves. Relying almost entirely on Graves' testimony, the commission boldly declared in 1908 that Abner Doubleday was the sole inventor. This is literally what led to the National Baseball Hall of Fame being built in Cooperstown. The only problem? Modern historians have completely debunked it. The whole thing was a fabricated narrative, deliberately designed to sell a specific brand of patriotism and distance baseball from its true, shared lineage with British bat and ball games.
Moving on to Section 2, Forging the Official Rules.
Okay, so the crucial question becomes, if Doubleday didn't invent it, who actually laid down the laws for these sports? Who transformed them from informal schoolyard games into the highly structured professional sports we know today? Well, that true formalization happened an ocean apart and decades away from each other. For cricket, the structure came a lot earlier. The Marylebone Cricket Club, or the MCC, took charge and standardized the laws of cricket way back in the 18th century, establishing major codes in 1744 and 1788. Meanwhile, the real formalization of American baseball didn't happen until 1845. That's when Alexander Cartwright and his club established the Knickerbocker Rules. These were the actual foundational texts that shaped the modern sports, laying down the exact parameters for the pitch, the field, and how the games are actually played.
All right, Section 3, Gameplay and Statistical Mechanics.
Now, what I find really fascinating here is how these distinct rulebooks ended up creating entirely different statistical universes. I mean, the way a sport measures success fundamentally changes how the game is played and how we consume it as fans. Just take a look at how baseball calculates pitcher statistics. From the official baseball rules, it is incredibly granular. An official scorer must literally compute putouts, which is basically whenever a fielder gets a batter out, as exact 1/3 of an inning. The rulebook explicitly says that if a starting pitcher is replaced with 1 out in the 6th inning, they are credited with exactly 5 1/3 innings pitched. This level of fractional accounting is a total hallmark of baseball. Every single out, every single pitch is isolated, recorded, and mathematically attributed to a specific individual player.
And honestly, this next rule brilliantly illustrates the staggering, almost absurd complexity of baseball's mechanics. Look at Rule 9.16, which is all about earned versus unearned runs. Let's say a pitcher named Peter walks a batter, right? Then a relief pitcher named Roger comes in. Then an error occurs on the field, followed by a home run. The official scorer literally has to forensically reconstruct the inning to determine who is mathematically responsible for which run.
Assigning those earned or unearned runs to relief pitchers after a defensive error requires absolute mathematical precision. It treats the game almost like a binding legal contract, where blame and credit have to be strictly apportioned.
So when we look at this comparison, you can see baseball's intense focus on individual micro events. We're talking strikeouts or balks, which is when a pitcher makes an illegal motion. It's essentially a game of isolated individual confrontations happening within a team setting. And this contrasts really sharply with the structural pacing of cricket. While cricket certainly tracks a bowler's wickets, getting a batter out, and their economy, meaning how few runs they allow, the overarching focus of cricket's mechanics is on the broader accumulation of runs and extras over prolonged periods. Basically, baseball isolates the microscopic moment, while cricket measures the long-term flow.
Which brings us to our final section, cultural legacies and global impact.
Let's zoom out for a second and see how these deep-rooted rules and origins impacted the global stage. Because these aren't just games, are they? They are massive cultural exporters. According to a comparative study by Gurukul International, both baseball and cricket serve as cultural artifacts that deeply reflect their society's values. Baseball grew as a deliberate tool of American expansion and commercialization, getting exported to places like Japan and the Caribbean alongside U.S. economic and political influence. Cricket, on the other hand, embodies the complex legacy of British colonialism. But what is truly amazing is how it has evolved since then. Today, in non-Western nations like India or the nations of the West Indies, cricket serves as a powerful reflection of post-colonial identity. It's become a way for former colonies to assert dominance and national pride on the global stage, literally by mastering the very game brought to them by the British.
So even though they share that simple fundamental concept of a bat and a ball, their unique rulebooks, historical trajectories, and cultural baggage have crafted completely distinct experiences for players and fans alike. One evolved into a game of fractional innings and manufactured American myths, while the other became a game of prolonged accumulation, deeply tied to the complex history of the British Empire.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a crucial question to think about. Both baseball and cricket are heavily bound by these dense, complex rulebooks and centuries of tradition. So, how will these historic games evolve next to capture the attention of our fast-paced, modern, and increasingly distracted world? Will the fractional statistics of baseball or the long-form strategy of cricket need to fundamentally change? Or is their rich history exactly what's going to keep them alive? Definitely something to think about the next time you hear the crack of a bat.